Hi guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing books beginning with Christmas. I saw Ange do this video over at Beyond the Pages, so I'll leave a link to her video down below. Basically, she picked books off of her TBR beginning with each title beginning with a letter from the word Christmas, and talked about why she was excited about reading them. I'm going to be doing something slightly different, so I'm going to be talking about some books on my TBR, but I'm also going to be talking about some books that I've read, so you can get a few recommendations too. So the first books that I've got for C, one that I've read is The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling, and this is the first in her Cormoran Strike series, and I believe there are 3 books out in this series and the 4th is coming out I think next year. I own books 1 and 2, but I've only read book 1. This is a sort of like detective style novel that follows a private investigator called, well, it's not a detective style novel, it's like an investigator novel. It follows a private investigator called Cormoran Strike who comes across this case of this girl who died, and everyone believes that she committed suicide, but her brother asked him to investigate to see whether that's actually the truth or not. I quite liked this. It took me quite a while to get through. It put me into a bit of a slump, but I think that's just because of the time that I was reading it. I wasn't really in the mood to read, so I'm really interested in reading the second book, which is called The Silkworm, and I'm hoping to do that soon. And then a book that I've got on my TBR is Cutting for Stone, and this is by Abraham Verghese, I think that's how you pronounce that. This is a book set in a couple of different countries, I think. I'll read you the back. It says, "My brother Shiva and I came into the world in the late afternoon of the 20th of September in the year of grace 1954. We took our first breaths in the thin air of Addis Ababa, capital city of Ethiopia. Bound by birth, we were driven apart by bitter betrayal. No surgeon can heal the wounds that divides 2 brothers. Where silk and steel fail, story must succeed." So yeah, I believe it's the story of these 2 brothers and their relationship, and there's sort of a cultural backdrop to it, and it says on the front about some family secrets. So I've heard some good things about this book, and I did haul it recently, so I'm looking forward to that one. For H, I have got Homegoing by C.H.R.I.S.T.M.A.S. I read this earlier in the year and absolutely loved it. This is a sort of multi-generational novel. It follows 2 sisters, or 2 half-sisters, and one of them marries a slave owner at the beginning and the other one is sold into slavery. And then each chapter is told from the perspective of a member of their sort of generation of their family later on down the line, and it sort of gives you an idea of where these 2 sisters' lives went and where all their family lives went, and the difficulties that they came across and the effects of slavery and things like that. And it was just utterly fascinating. Really enjoyed it and can't wait to see what this author brings out next. And then one that I haven't read is House Rules, and this is by Jodi Picoult. I heard Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand talk recently about the fact that she loves Jodi Picoult, and she's collecting some of her books recently, and it got me thinking about the fact that, you know, 10 years ago or so I really enjoyed reading Jodi Picoult's books too. So this is one that I haven't read that I've had on my shelf for a while, and this I believe is about a mother and a son, and the son is autistic and he is involved in some sort of murder, and then he's on trial for murder basically. And I think it deals with the idea of, you know, is it his fault, can he cope with this, all of those kinds of ideas. So Sarah actually said that she'd read this and quite enjoyed it, so it got me excited to pick it up off of my shelf. For R, I've got The Rosie Project, and this is by Graham Simpson. This is a book that I read I think a couple of years ago now, and this follows a character who, by all intents and purposes, he sounds like he's got some sort of autistic tendencies, but it's never sort of named as that in the book. And this main character sets off on a project to find himself, I think, a girlfriend or a wife, and he has this massive questionnaire and this massive system for trying to find a girlfriend, and of course it doesn't quite work out the way he wants it to. I really enjoyed this. I'm a massive fan of The Big Bang Theory, and the main character really reminded me of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. I haven't read the follow-up to it, what's it called, The Rosie Effect. My husband has, and he said he didn't really enjoy it as much, so that kind of puts me off a little bit, but yeah, really enjoyed this one. And then a book that I've yet to read is The Roanoke Girls, and this is by Amy Engel. This is a thriller novel which I believe is about some sort of family mystery in a house. So it says on the back, beautiful, rich, mysterious, the Roanoke girls seem to have it all, but there's a dark truth about them that's never spoken. If every girl either runs away or dies. Lane is one of the lucky ones. When she was 15, over one long hot summer at her grandparents' estate in rural Kansas, she found out what it really means to be a Roanoke girl. Lane ran far and fast. Until 10 years later, when her cousin Allegra goes missing and Lane has no choice but to go back. She is a Roanoke girl. Is she strong enough to escape a second time? So that sounds absolutely fantastic. I originally picked this book up because Lisa from Books and Smiles was reading it for her Goodreads sort of buddy reads group that she has on there, and I never got around to reading it, but it's so short and I've heard really good things about it, so looking forward to picking that one up. And for I've got If I Stay, and this is by Gail Foreman. I've read this a couple of years ago now. This is sort of a YA contemporary book, and it follows a girl who is involved in a car accident, and her whole family die in the car accident apart from her, and then she's in this coma, and it's about her sort of reflecting on her life when she's in this coma. I quite liked it. I find it quite difficult to find a book beginning with I of the ones that I've read. I haven't read that many. But I quite liked it. There is a sequel to this. There is a film of this as well, which I haven't seen. But yeah, not too bad. And then one that I want to read is In a Dark Dark Wood, and this is by Ruth Ware. This is her first novel, and I read The Woman in Cabin 10 earlier on this year. This is a thriller novel. I'm not really too sure much about what else it's about. It says on the back, Nora hasn't seen Claire for 10 years, not since the day Nora walked out of her life and never looked back, until out of the blue an invitation to Claire's hen party arrives. A weekend in a remote cottage, the perfect opportunity for Nora to reconnect with her best friend, to put the past behind her. But something goes wrong, very wrong, and as secrets and lies unravel out in the dark, dark wood, the past will finally catch up with Nora. That sounds quite good. I believe they're making this into a film as well, so we'll see. Then for S, I've got here The Seven Sisters, and this is by Lucinda Riley. I've just finished reading this. This is the start of a sort of big series that she is writing. And it centres around 6 sisters who were adopted by their father, and at the beginning of the book their father passes away of a heart attack, and he leaves them all of these clues of sort of where they came from and how he came to adopt them. And this follows Maya, one of the 6 sisters, and sort of her journey in finding out where she came from. I really enjoyed this. It's really long, so it's quite an investment, and I wasn't a massive fan of the dialogue, and I'll speak a bit more about that in my wrap up, but I was totally captivated by the story and cannot wait to pick up the next book in the series. And then a book that I want to read is The Song of Achilles, and this is by Madeline Miller. This won the Orange Prize for Fiction in 2012, and I believe it's a retelling of some sort of Greek myth. I can't remember which one it is. But yeah, I've heard good things about it. Lots of people talk about it on BookTube, so it's one that I definitely want to pick up soon. Then for tea, I've got To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's one of my favourite books of all time. This is a story about a family in the south of America in the 1930s, I think. And the father of the family, Atticus, is a lawyer, and he is defending a black man who's been accused of raping a white woman. And it's just about kind of the racism at the time and the way that the family live and what happens in this trial, and it's just absolutely fantastic. The writing in here is brilliant. I have got the sequel, or the prequel, is it a prequel or a sequel? I can't remember, on my shelf. I'm so scared to read it because I've heard that the way that Atticus is written in the second book is really different and will change your opinion of him, and I don't really want my opinion changed of him. I'm going to have to pick it up at some point, but yeah, love this book. And then one that I want to read is The Tidal Zone, and this is by C.H.R.I.S.T.M.A.S. This, I believe, is about a family, and one day the daughter has some sort of accident, I think, at school, falls ill at school, and then she can't go to school anymore, I think, and her father has to look after her, and it's about kind of the family dynamic of her being ill and having to be looked after and that sort of thing. I've heard it's very, very good. I've never read anything by C.H.R.I.S.T.M.A.S before, and I bought this over a year ago now, so I'm really looking forward to picking that one up. Then for M, a Jodie Picoult book that I have read is My Sister's Keeper. I read this ages ago and I absolutely loved it. This is a real tearjerker of a book, and the film is even more of a tearjerker. This is about a little girl who has been born, or her parents had her so that she could help her older sister who's got, I think it's leukemia, or something along those lines. Yeah, and it's about kind of their story. I'm not going to say any more than that, but this is fabulous. Really, really enjoyed it. Jodie Picoult's books always deal with big issues, and this one definitely does that, and I absolutely loved it. And then one that I haven't read is Moth Smoke, and this is by C.H.R.I.S.T.M.A.S. This is the only C.H.R.I.S.T.M.A.S book that I haven't read. I can't remember. I think it's actually his first book. I don't really know what this one is about, but I've enjoyed all of his books, so I have no doubt that I'll enjoy this one as well. Next up for A, I have Atonement by Ian McEwan. I haven't read many books by Ian McEwan, but this is one of the ones that I like more. This is set against the backdrop of just before and during the Second World War, and it's about two sisters and the jealousy between them, and then a relationship that one of the sisters has, and it is, yeah, really well written. I did really like it. I've read this so long ago now that I'm really due a reread on this just to kind of refresh my memory. And I don't actually think I've watched the film, which is a bit of a shame, so did like that one though. And then one that I haven't read is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I bought this for my birthday this year and still haven't got around to reading it. This is the start of a trilogy of hers, and it's about different kinds of London. So I think there's a red London, a white London, a black London and a grey London, and you shouldn't be able to switch between them, but the main character can, yeah, and sort of magic ensues, and I don't really know much more than that, but yeah, people have some good things to say about this trilogy. So, and then lastly, S. So I have Swords to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is set during the Second World War, and it follows a cast of characters who are trying to escape. It's not from Germany. Does it say where it is? I can't remember the country that they're trying to escape from, but they're trying to escape from the Nazis, and make their way to this ship that's going to take them to safety, and it's based on a true story, and each chapter is told from a different character's perspective, and I just loved it. I love all of Ruta Sepetys' writing, as you probably already know if you've been following my channel for a while, and this is no exception. And then one that I want to read is Zadie Smith's Swing Time. This was longlisted for the Man Booker this year, and I said at the time that I've read one of Zadie Smith's books before, which is called On Beauty, and didn't really think much of it, but really love the way that this is published with the French flaps and everything. And this, I believe, is about two sisters and their dancers, and it's set against a backdrop of a few different countries. So it says here it's set in London, New York and West Africa, and it's just about these girls' dream of being dancers. So we'll see whether I like that one any better than On Beauty. So there you go guys, they were all of the books that I had to talk to you about today. Books beginning with Christmas. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. Have you read any of these? What did you think of them? Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.